Welcome to the Glazov gang. Tonight, Dr. Mordechai Kedar, the director of the Center for the Study of the Middle East and Islam, an organization that is under formation. Mordechai Kedar, what a privilege and an honor to have you on the Glazov gang.
My pleasure and my honor.
And we are filming you from Israel, am I correct?
Yes, and here it's morning.
Mordechai, I have to say, we have never had a guest with such a background on the Glazov gang. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, now it is spring in Israel. Everything here is flourishing, as you can see behind me. And this is one of the reasons why all those Islamists envy us and hate us. Because in their countries, it's usually a desert, dry, arid. Here, this is a flourishing country, vibrant democracy. And this is why they envy us and they hate us, mainly because of this.
And especially those wonderful and beautiful roses behind you.
Yeah.
I think that the roses are a very anti-jihadist statement. Am I correct?
Yes, in some schools of Islam, especially the Wahhabi, they don't allow to bring flowers on any occasion to your wife because it's something which is brought from the West. They don't allow music also because everything which makes life happy and jolly, they are usually against.
Okay, Mordechai, let us begin, my friend. We had a very interesting correspondence recently where you were pointing out one of the flaws, something that occurred during that whole debate over Ayaan Hirsi Ali being banned, disinvited from Brandeis University. And you pointed out that even some of the people that try to come to her defense, those people that are accusing her, they're afraid of actually saying something. Why don't we begin with that?
Look, people are hesitant to identify with Ayaan Hirsi Ali because she is against Islam. She denounced Islam. She left Islam, actually. And this is something which most Muslims view as, since she is an apostate, she deserves to be beheaded. So to invite her and to give her such an honor is definitely against something which is very basic in Islam, which is loyalty to the religion. As you might know, Islam is only one-way ticket, only to enter Islam. Even if you embrace Islam when you are drunk, when you, after the hangover, you cannot denounce Islam, even that. And any Muslim, either by birth or by conversion, who denounces Islam and leaves Islam, deserves to be beheaded. So this is why Ayaan Hirsi Ali arose such a bad atmosphere within Islamic circles, to a degree that they are against honoring her in anything.
Thank you, Mordechai. Now you point out a very, in our correspondence, you pointed out very important point that I want to develop. You know, you're talking about that a lot of people are implying during these dialogues that there is a good Koran and that there is a bad Koran. Tell us a little bit about that.
No, people are talking about radical Islam as if there is a non-radical Islam or different Islam, or as if there is a radical Quran or a moderate Quran. This is wrong. There is only one Quran, which has all kinds of ideas, just like the Hadith, the oral tradition, which has many ideas. Some of them are very radical, some of them are not so radical. And actually what we have is not radical Islam versus normal Islam or acceptable Islam or tolerant Islam. What we have is radical Muslims versus normal Muslims, or I would say tolerant Muslims. It is a matter of culture, of people. If somebody is tolerant generally in his approach to life, approach to others, approach to different people, he will tailor Islam which fits his personality and his approach to life. And he will choose verses from the Quran and quotations from the Hadith which will fit his own culture, his own approach to life, approach to others. While somebody else who is radical in his attitude to other people, he is very extreme in whatever he is doing, he will tailor from the verses of the Quran and from the quotations from the Hadith, he will tailor a kind of Islam which will fit his radical approach to life and to other people. And this is actually what we have. We don't have two kinds of Islam, radical Islam versus tolerant Islam. What we have is radical people, radical Muslims, either individuals or groups or schools, like the Wahhabis, versus tolerant Muslims. For example, in India, you know, India has like 100 million Muslims, more than Egypt, Jordan, Libya combined. And most of them are tolerant people because the culture in India is tolerant and accepting and open and open-minded and all, and so they embrace the culture in India, and usually Muslims in India are not making any problems to others. Pakistanis who come from different culture made this a terror attack on Mumbai a few years ago. So this is the culture of people, is what makes people radical versus tolerant, and not Islam. Islam, there is one Islam, one Quran, one Hadith. People shape their Quran or their belief according to their own culture.
So Mordechai, let me crystallize one theme though, however, that there are many obviously peaceful Muslims, quote-unquote good Muslims. And in our perspective, the peaceful, good Muslims, etc., these are the ones that are not interested or engaging in jihad. However, the important point to make is that according to Islam and the Quran, that they may be bad Muslims because there is no good Quran, that Islamic teaching overall mandates jihad.
Well, there is one verse in the Quran which says in English, no compulsion in religion, la ikraha fid din. And all those tolerant people, Muslims, take this verse as their mantra in order to shape their life versus everything which connected to life and to Islam and everything. Others take different verses, like kill the infidels or so forth, or verses which bear this message, and they take these verses as their mantra in life, and they implement it by the way which they choose. Look, there are other ideologies which differ between radical and tolerant. Let's say even those who are against abortions. There are those who are against abortions, but they wouldn't do anything. Others will write letters to the Congress or to the Senate. Others will demonstrate, and others will burn clinics, and others, the most radical, will kill the doctors who perform abortions. So there is a large array and large diversity between all those who are against abortion in the way how they object abortion. The same thing is with Islam. There are those Muslims who delegate everything to Allah. Let Allah punish the infidels. Let Allah do this. We are not Allah. We are not judges. We are not the policemen of the world. And let others, the infidels, do whatever they like. And Allah will settle the account with them when He chooses, if He chooses. We are not those who came to the world to teach the world. Others from the other side of the other pole will say, hey, we came to the world in order to rectify it and to convert everybody to Islam and to enforce everybody to embrace Islam and da'wah and jihad and all these things. So these are the poles, just like in everything else, in every other ideology.
Well, just a second, Mordechai. If Christians engage in violence and in killing, they're not going to find anything in the New Testament to justify what they're doing. However, when Muslims engage in jihad and killing unbelievers, they will find things in the Quran to justify what they're doing. So if Christians behave in the way that you earlier stated, they do not have any Christian basis in terms of their theology to act in this way. So there's not necessarily an equivalency between what the New Testament and what it says how Christians should behave and what the Quran says in terms of how Muslims should behave.
Well, I'm not such an expert about Christianity, but definitely Christianity had periods of very, very problematic periods. We had the Quasimodo Torquemada in Spain. We had the assassination of the Huguenots in France. Okay, well, Christianity also had some problems. I'm not aware.
Just a sec. I'm not saying that the people who happen to be Christians may have been behaving in that way, but they could not point to any Christian texts that sanctioned what they were doing. And this is the key difference with Islam, that when Muslims engage in violence against infidels, it's precisely why they quote from the Koran. Christians who are killing non-Christians cannot point to texts in the New Testament to vindicate themselves or legitimize themselves.
You're right, but don't forget that tolerant Muslims are the targets of radical Muslims before the infidels.
Mm-hmm.
As I can very clearly see that the vast majority of the victims of radical Muslims like Al-Qaeda are Muslims. Shiites who kill Sunnis also because of differences within Islam.
Mm-hmm.
And Al-Qaeda is targeting other Sunnis, and of course Al-Qaeda is also Sunni, who do not share the same ideas with Al-Qaeda.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And so one of your points to me that I felt was a very powerful point to make, that you were saying that this quote-unquote good Koran that many people talk about, but actually has all these instructions to kill infidels, these verses we should actually be publishing and speaking about in terms of the ones that preach violence.
Look, there are some bleeding hearts today who say that Islam is just like every other religion, like Judaism, like Christianity, Buddhism, and so forth. This is, I would say, not only not correct. This is some kind of deception, because according to Judaism, everybody who is not Jewish can be whatever he likes and can do whatever he likes. And it is his own business. It's not Jews' business to convert the world. And today I think Christianity also tries to preserve itself and not to force others to enter Christianity. While Islam and the most basic teachings of Islam is that Muslims should emigrate, hijrah, like Prophet Muhammad, who emigrated to Medina and became the ruler of the state, and became a statesman, became a commander of an army. And this is I would say, the operational code of Islam, to emigrate in order to become the ruler of the place which you emigrate to. And this is the idea of immigration, which is meant to subjugate the state or the country which Muslims emigrate to, either by proselytizing or by converting people, or by enforcing Sharia law or Sharia compliant banking and all these things, which is a stealthy jihad in good quote unquote means, and to convert the other countries to Islam eventually. And this is what we see today very clearly in Europe, in Britain. We see, and I'm afraid that we see already the first parts of this kind of jihad in America as well.
Thank you very much, Mordechai. We just have 2 minutes left. Let us finish on the country where you are residing, the most beautiful country in the Middle East, where there's democracy and freedom surrounded by despotism and tyranny. Mordechai, tell us about your thoughts recently and lately on the future of Israel.
Well, Israel is like an oasis in a desert, surrounded by very radical countries, and countries which are sinking in swamp of problems, domestic problems, violence, as we see, poverty, and neglect, as we can see very clearly almost all over the Middle East. Israel has all the power to survive and to flourish in this region only if Israel succeeds to convince its neighbors that for their own good, they should deal with their own problems and leave Israel alone. There is no peace of hugs and kisses in the Middle East. In the Middle East, peace is given only to the invincible. And so far, Israel succeeded to convince its neighbors that it is invincible. We are viewed as people who have no right to any state because we are Jews, and Jews should be subjugated to Islam. They don't view us as a nation. We belong, according to Islamists, we belong all over the world to go back to wherever we came from, to our forefathers' land. And the land of Palestine, as they call it, belonged to Islam forever and not to Israel. And this is why Israel has very vast problems in order to be acceptable by the Islamic environment. And therefore, only if Israel is invincible, Israel can survive. And invincibility means also support from the world, support from the free world, support from democracies, and all those who honor human rights and political freedoms should embrace Israel and promote it and not boycott it, and not divest from it, and definitely not sanction it, as we see today in the margin of some academia, especially in the United States and Europe.
Dr. Mordechai Kedar, what a privilege and an honor to have had you on the Glazov Gang.
Thank you very much, Jamie.
Thank you.
You're doing a great job.
Thank you, and keep up the fantastic work, and we're all behind you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and we'll see you again next week on the Glazov Gang.